Before I begin, I would like to observe that Tuesday was Veterans Day in America. Thursday a week will be Thanksgiving Day, a uniquely American holiday. I would ask at this time that every person who's ever worn the American uniform, please stand for a moment. Today, I'm going to speak to you. I'm going to speak about you, and I hope I will speak for you. We truly give thanks for all that you have done and the sacrifices you've made to keep us safe and free. Thank you again. A moment ago, we opened this program, as we do every week, with the Pledge of Allegiance to this great country. In that pledge, we use the words, one nation under God. I'm going to speak to you today about this great nation, about some of the men and women who helped make it great, about some of your freedoms and liberties, and about our God. I begin with a story of a Jewish man who lived in Nazi Germany in the 1930s and 40s. He survived the concentration camp and the death camp. He survived, he believed, because of his faith in God. And the fact that every day he would recite from memory the 23rd Psalm, "The Lord is my shepherd." After the war, he became good friends with a young but famous Shakespearean actor. And they would visit from time to time. One day, the actor was visiting the old man, and he asked him to go with him to the synagogue that night and recite the 23rd Psalm. The actor, of course, knew the importance of the psalm in the old man's life and readily agreed to do so, but on the special condition that when he finished, the old man would also recite the psalm. That night, the actor's recitation was a performance, a magnificent performance. His enunciation, pronunciation, diction, rhythm, rhyme, everything was just perfect. When he finished, the audience applauded and cheered. He then called on his old friend, who began with a weak voice, a voice that broke again and again and again as he relived those terrible days. When he finally finished, there was no applause, there were no cheers. There was stunned silence, but in every eye and on every cheek, there were tears. Finally, the actor said to the audience, "You see the difference? I know the psalm, but he knows the shepherd." One nation under God. If I were asked to define this great nation with one word and one word only, the word I would choose would be liberty or freedom. We, with our capitalistic system, place a value on nearly everything: our homes, our cars, our personal belongings, our labor. But I wonder how many of you have ever considered the value of your freedom? What is it worth to be free? Or in a larger sense, what is it worth to be an American? I'm going to ask you to consider that question with me today, and to help us with the answer, allow me to take you on a short trip through the pages of history. We begin our journey in the colony of Pennsylvania, the town of Philadelphia. The Second Continental Congress of America is in session. They've just passed a resolution unanimously. And we read these words from that resolution. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's July the 4th, 1776. The resolution is the Declaration of Independence of America. We travel now to the colony of New York in what was then called the town of New York. It's September 1777. And the war for America's freedom has already begun. A young captain in the American Army has been captured and tried and convicted by the British, not as a captain, but as a rebel and a traitor. The British have erected a gallows in the town park, and they've ordered all the townspeople to assemble to witness the penalty to be administered. They expect this young man to beg and plead for his life, and they want to teach these upstart Americans a lesson. We watch as they place the noose around his neck. The following is a report from an eyewitness to the events of that day. They asked Nathan, did he have any last words to say? He nodded his head, and the blindfold slipped down around his neck. His voice was calm and steady. My name is Captain Nathan Hale. I am not a rebel. I am not a traitor. I am an American. I've committed no crime. I followed the orders of my commanding officer, as every good soldier is required to do. And I have no regrets for what I've done, even now. My only regret is I have but one life to lose for my country. If I had 10,000 more, I would give them all. He just turned 21 years old, and they hanged him. America won its freedom from England in that war, but we fought again in the War of 1812. So we travel now to the colony of Maryland, to the Chesapeake Bay. A doctor who's been treating the injured American troops has been arrested and placed under armed guard on a British man of war out in the Chesapeake Bay. Fearful that the doctor might be executed, American troops have asked a young lawyer to go out in his boat and try to secure the release of the doctor. As the young lawyer approaches the man of war, under flag of truce, he himself is arrested and placed on board with the doctor, as the British Navy has commenced a bombardment of Fort McHenry. That bombardment lasts all day and all night. Having nothing else to do, the lawyer wrote a poem. The poem was later set to music, and in 1931, it became the national anthem of America. The lawyer's name, Francis Scott Key. We travel now to the northern part of Mexico. It's March 1836, and people are fighting for their freedom. General Santa Anna has amassed an army of 5,000 trained fighting men, armed with rifles and muskets and cannons, and they've crossed the Rio Grande. We're a group of 189 men and boys, youngest one is 12 years old, have been ordered to hold a little-known crossroad. They choose for their defense a Spanish mission, a house of God, if you will. These 189 men and boys are told by their commanding officer, William Travis, from Saluda, South Carolina, that they will never surrender, they will never retreat. And they hold. Against 5,000 men they hold. For 13 days they hold. Until all but 6 of the 189 are dead. Santa Anna is so outraged by the delay caused by the 189 and the fact that they have killed approximately 900 of his men that he orders the 6 prisoners of war to be executed. He then orders that all but one of the 189 bodies be burned so that their families will be denied a proper burial. 46 days later, the army of Santa Anna meets the army of Sam Houston on the battlefield. And a cry goes up, "Remember the Alamo." In less than 18 minutes, the army of Santa Anna is annihilated. We travel now to Washington, D.C. It's 1862, and we're in the second year of the bloodiest war in our entire history. We watch as the president signs a document entitled the Emancipation Proclamation, by which he orders that as of January 1st, 1863, all slaves in the rebelling southern states will now be free. In April 1865, they shot and killed President Abraham Lincoln. We leave America now and travel to a beautiful island in the Pacific. It's a Sunday morning. We watch the sun rise slowly over the mountains, and suddenly out of the sun comes wave after wave of Japanese bombers and warplanes. It's December the 7th, 1941. The day of infamy has begun. On that day alone, 2,383 American personnel will die. On that day alone, 21 American warships will sink beneath the sea. But a cry goes up again. Remember Pearl Harbor. And all over America, young men flock to the recruiting offices to volunteer, to fight, and to die for their country. And in time, Hawaii becomes the 50th state in this great union. In our very, very short history, approximately 1,500,000 men and women in uniform have died so that you and you and you and I can be free. We return now to Washington. It's January 1st, 1961. We've inaugurated a new president. And I think he probably said it better than anyone else. Let every nation know, whether they wish us well or ill, that we will pay any price, bear any burden, endure any hardship, support any friend, and oppose any foe to ensure the success and survival of liberty. In November 1963, in Dallas, Texas, they shot and killed President John F. Kennedy. We travel now to our last destination, a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. We look up and see a plane flying low in the sky. On that plane are some very important people, Americans. One of them is 32 years old. He's married, he has 3 children. His wife is pregnant, and it's September the 11th. We listen to the last words his family will ever hear. Okay, let's roll. Todd Beamer. I want to take you back to Washington in August 1963 at the Lincoln Memorial, where a man is making a speech. It's hot, but hundreds of thousands of people have gathered. This man, during his lifetime, didn't ask for special privileges. All he asked for was freedom. We listen as he ends that speech with these famous words. When you let freedom ring from every village and every hamlet and every city and every state, you'll speed up that day when all God's children, black man and white man, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will all join hands and sing in the words of the Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last. In April 1986, in Memphis, Tennessee, they shot and killed the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. What is freedom worth to a young man standing on a gallows with a rope around his neck? To 189 men and boys being pounded to death by cannons? What is freedom worth to the millions of American Indians forced to leave their ancestral lands and to walk the trail of tears? What is freedom worth to the millions of black men, women, and children who wore the chains of slavery for more than 250 years? What is freedom worth to a white woman named Susan B. Anthony, who in 1883 and again in 1884 went to jail so that American women might someday have the freedom to vote? What is freedom worth to a group of American sailors standing on the deck of their ship, shooting hopelessly at enemy targets as they and their ship sink slowly beneath the sea? What is freedom worth to 9 of your fellow citizens here in Charleston, South Carolina, attending their own church, and they're shot to death because their skin is black? And what is freedom worth to what is now over 700 of our school children and their teachers shot to death in their schoolrooms all over America for no reason at all? And what is freedom worth to the hundreds and to the thousands of men, women, and children trapped in crashing planes and burning buildings on September the 11th, and suffering fear and pain and horror beyond your knowledge and beyond your comprehension? And finally, what is freedom worth to a young immigrant sailing into New York Harbor for the first time and seeing the smoking, twisted ruins of the World Trade Centers, but then turning and seeing, still standing, that symbol of America known everywhere in the world, a lonely statue with a poem inscribed on the base. The poem reads in part, "Keep ancient lands, your storied pomp," cries she, with silent lips. "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuge of your teeming shores. Send these, the homeless, the tempest-tossed. To me, I lift my torch beside the golden door, a statue named Liberty. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty." During World War II, American troops and our allies drove across Europe and brought freedom to the inmates of the concentration camps. They found these words carved in a wall in one of the buildings: "I believe in the sun, even when it does not shine. I believe in love, even though I received none. I believe in God, even when he does not speak. One nation under God. In honor of and appreciation for every man and woman who has ever worn the uniform. I close now with these words from a song by Billy Ray Cyrus. It's a song about a soldier named Sandy Kane. He and his companions left America to fight in a war. They left as boys. They came home as men. Some in a box. The last stanza of that song goes like this. All gave some gave all. All stood true for the red, white, and blue, but some had to fall. If you ever think of me at all, remember all your liberties, and then recall, all gave some, Mr. President, but some gave all. Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Thank you. Thank all of you.